Welcome to the Veterans Radio Show. Today is Friday, and we're excited for the weekend. And today we're doing the legal segment with Kelly Bagla, and which, in my opinion, is pretty much the best business attorney you can find anywhere. So Kelly shares with us every segment about legal aspects in business, family trust, and so many different topics that we cover with her each time we talk with Kelly. So I would like to kind of welcome everyone and also welcome Kelly. So we're going to talk today about falling in love with business. Kelly has her new book, and she's going to share with us about her experience writing the book and about what's in the content of the book. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Kelly to the show.
Hello,
Hello,
Joe.
Kelly.
Always a pleasure seeing you.
Oh, likewise, likewise. Always a pleasure. And so today we're going to talk about some really great things. But before we do that, we would like to do the disclaimer, which is important.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Because as an attorney here in California, we definitely have to disclaim certain aspects of what we do. We are all in the service of each other. However, as an attorney, any information that I share today on the show is only for informational purposes, and it does not create an attorney-client privilege.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. So today, we're in 2023. We have, we're setting up goals. So some people are already implementing those goals. But I would love if you can share with us about your new book.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up, Joe. So as an attorney, right, this is I'm not sort of just an attorney, which I absolutely love being an attorney, but I'm also an entrepreneur. And it takes an entrepreneur to really understand the needs of another entrepreneur. So that's what I bring to the table is my own business experience. And I've pretty much dedicated my life, my practice to helping entrepreneurs create their own American dreams. As you can tell from the accent, I wasn't born and raised here in America, but I've been living here for about 25 years now. And I literally do live the American dream. And I think one of the aspects of living the American dream is to become independent. And what's the best way to become independent is actually owning your own business, becoming your own boss. And it's not about you don't have people to report to because you're the boss now. You always will have people to report to. They will be your clients. So
Absolutely.
in that sort of realm of my expertise, all the books that I have written, they are all supporting entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs and business owners alike. The latest book, Joe, is called Legal Pearls of Wisdom to Avoid Business Litigation. And anyone can pick up a copy from Amazon, or they can go to my website, baglalaw.com, and you'll see books by Kelly, and you'll see the litany of books that I've written. This particular book itself is a very short and easy read because it's broken up into very, very short, small chapters. And each chapter touches upon legal aspects of a business. So, for example, one chapter might talk about trademarking. What is trademarking? What are you allowed to trademark? Another chapter might talk about what is the right business entity or structure for your company that you are about to create or even you are going to create. And I've noticed our attention span, Joe, it's going to be worse than a goldfish, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And people don't like to read nowadays. So I've made it super simple in this book. Again, Legal Pearls of Wisdom for Avoiding Business Litigation. It's a great read. It's one of those books that you should definitely have on your bedside stand because you can flick through any chapter of it. And if you're facing an issue in business, if you want to know what kind of terms should be contained in a contract, which is huge, This book is a gold mine, and it's also been called sort of like the mini Bible for entrepreneurs.
Oh wow, that's that's awesome. That's awesome, Kelly.
Thank you.
One of the chapters in your book, and you talk about the setting up corporations and LLCs, and there's a mention of I think you mentioned three states: Nevada, Wyoming, and Delaware, were to incorporate for a company. But when someone is in California, how would that work?
Uh, yes, there are business friendly states, and those three are the top ones as far as creating a business. Now, certain states require that if you reside in that state, you must pay taxes in that state, right?
Of
And
course.
it's not just personal taxes, we're talking about business taxes, and we're talking about sales tax and all of that good stuff that comes along with owning a business. Now, depending on the level of risk involved in what you are offering to the public, it can be that the legal strategy sort of comes into play right from the outset, depending on where should you incorporate, where should you form your business? Does it make financial sense? So there's two main points that are really important to answer before you can actually pick a state to incorporate. The first question is, well, what's the risk involved? Right? How likely are you to get sued? If you deal with the public, majority of us do, then depending on if it's a limited amount of public and you get to select your own clients, or is it open to the general public where you're offering products rather than services, and your products can be purchased anywhere. The risk involved in that is pretty huge. You can get sued from anywhere. And so one of the top three states to incorporate would be either Delaware, Nevada, and or definitely Wyoming. The reason why is because when it's not about if, when you get sued as a business owner, and keep in mind, if you are sued as a business owner, that means you're doing something right. Because all successful people are going to get sued at some point, right? But these states have a long laws on the books. They've got case law. They literally know. You would know as a party getting sued going into the lawsuit where and how the courts are going to side. Normally, these top three states, they would side with the business owner because again they are business friendly.
Hmm.
California in particular is not business friendly. It's very employee friendly. So if you were sued in California, you know that as a business owner, you have to defend yourself. You have the burden of proof to defend, to prove that you did not do something. It's totally reverse in California. But if you are a business owner in California, you live in California, you reside in California, you're actually doing business in California. However, one of your companies is very risk. There's a lot of risk associated with it. I would suggest filing in. Let's just pick a state. Let's say Delaware. Delaware is a fantastic state. And since California, you're doing business in California, California wants their franchise tax. So
Right.
you file as a foreign corporation in California because you are doing business here. And that way you satisfy California requirement as well. However, when you get sued, you can always pick the jurisdiction of Delaware. So that will govern any type of lawsuit because that's where you would be initially incorporated. So there were two things. One is the risk level of who are you actually doing business with, and two is from a financial perspective as well. You know, if you want to set up your company correctly and it is very risk adverse, then I would suggest exactly that, setting up, forming a Delaware entity, and then filing that in California as a foreign corporation. One huge comment that I must make here is the only time California law will govern your corporation's actions if you are filed in either Delaware, Nevada, or Wyoming is if you get sued from an employee. This law came out about 2 years ago. So
Mm.
California is getting wise to this, right? Again, they want to protect the employees rather than the business owners that actually bring in the money for the state. If an employee is suing you in California, then California law will apply to the employee's situation. If a business associate was suing you or a vendor was suing you, they would have to sue in Delaware and not California if you are formed in Delaware.
That's an interesting point. I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's another pearl of information, correct?
Yes, exactly. Pearls of wisdom. I'm full of them.
That's right. Pearls of wisdom. That's correct. Well, that's great. So so once someone sets up a company, whether it's in one of those three states, and they're ready to go in business, um, what is your next advice when it comes to agreements or formation? Any wisdom you would like to share?
Absolutely, yes. And we are recording in the month of February. The month of February is known as, the month where you're supposed to fall in love. Well, I urge and challenge all entrepreneurs that are on the cusp of incorporating or forming their businesses to actually take that step. Just do it, right? There's um, anytime you are going to be dealing with the public, anytime you're going to go into a business, the number one defense is always making sure that you are incorporated as a business. It could be a corporation, it could be an LLC. As long as you are formed and registered with a state, you are incorporated. One of the biggest mistakes, Joe, that people make, and I completely understand, sometimes finances aren't on your side. I totally understand, but you still want the protection that a corporation or an LLC provides the business owner, which is if you incorporate and you get sued, the person can only sue your corporation and not you personally. That's the protection that the law provides. However, there are so many individuals that will just go and file some paperwork with the state, just the articles, and they think now that they are protected. There's several other steps that the individuals must take in order for them to take full advantage of that limited liability protection. It's not just the filing of the articles is going to get you out of being personally sued. If that's the only action that you have taken, I can guarantee you will be personally sued. The law sees that as you and the business as one individual, when in fact, the law says that the entity, the business, must be a separate entity. And how do you create that? Well, first of all, you do have to file the articles. You must also have internal documents. Let me just pick a corporation, for example. With a corporation, you have articles of formation. Then you have bylaws. You also have a incorporator sole minutes where they pick the director or directors. Then you have organizational minutes where the officers are also appointed. You also must have shareholder agreements as well. And the entity must also have its own EIN number. That's all of those documents put together are going to be your line of defense. Those will have to be penetrated in order for someone to sue the business owner personally. Without those additional documents, you're not treating the corporation separately, which the law requires. And therefore, by filing the articles by themselves and doing nothing else, you're not doing yourself a favor or your business, because you will be sued personally.
I see. So just filing one document is just basically pretending to be in business, but not really in business.
Correct, exactly. You might as well not even file that because it's not going to protect you. It's all the other documents that actually stand together. It's literally like probably building a house, right, Joe? You put up one wall and, that's not. It's not a home. It's not going
It's
to
not
keep
a home,
you. Yeah,
correct?
it's not going to keep you dry in the winter and or warm, and it's not going to keep you dry when it rains. But that's the analogy, basically.
That makes sense. So in some cases, you even have to build a basement for even additional protection. Okay.
Right,
Now,
exactly.
when it comes to paying yourself, let's say someone who is a sole proprietor and wants to pay him or herself, you know, over time or once a year or whatever, how do they extract the money that comes to the business to the person?
Okay. If you are a corporation, I would highly recommend that you put yourself on payroll.
Hmm.
With payroll, now you are actually paying into the system that can pay you back. For example, you're going to pay into Social Security, Medicare, Medi-Cal, disability, and you are also getting paid as a W-2 employee of the company. That also allows you to start a retirement account as well. So, for example, if you're just one person, you would have a solo 401k. The this is a very, very old message that has stood the test of time, if you will, Joe, because
Hmm.
entrepreneurs, they're very notorious for not paying themselves, right? So anytime you are paying yourself, put some money away, right? Put it away because you're the only one that is going to be saving for your future, for your retirement. So that's how you would pay yourself as an employee of your own company. And then if you are an LLC, you can actually take draws from the company. So going back to the corporation quickly, one is a W-2, but you also get profits as well as an owner. The W-2 income is taxed at your tax bracket, and the profits are taxed as a capital gain. So they're taxed at a lower bracket. So that's why you
Mm.
get to really save money as a corporation. With an LLC, Joe, you can do the same thing. You put yourself on payroll, or you can take distributions throughout the month. But those distributions, make sure that you put some money away for retirement.
I like your idea of the solo 401k because over time it builds up.
Mhm.
We did some calculations on if you were saving money on your own, how much would you need to save to get to $1 million, for example? Well, it takes a long, long time. But through a 401k program, um, is a lot faster. You can get to that point way, way faster. Now, if someone decides to be a sole proprietor, how do those people get paid themselves?
They usually just they pay themselves because you're one of the same. You're the company, you're the owner, you're one of the same. There's no distinction between the two. You don't normally, as a sole proprietor, uh, you're missing out on a lot of tax savings. Big, huge disclaimer, I am not a tax attorney. I would never touch that, with a 10-foot pole. But I do know the basics that you are missing out greatly if you are not a incorporated entity. It can be tough because there's a lot of doors that will be closed to you as a sole proprietor. One other thing quickly, Joe, I'd like to touch upon is big businesses, they will turn away from sole proprietors. Okay.
Mm,
If you are incorporated and you go in as an independent contractor, they will hire you. They're more likely to hire you rather than a sole proprietor. Why? Because a sole proprietor, businesses don't want to deal with individuals. Right?
correct.
They'd rather deal with a incorporated entity. Businesses, they don't want to be suing individuals, families. They'll just shy away from that. So as a sole proprietor, you are doing yourself no favors whatsoever by remaining as a sole proprietor. You're missing out on taxes, you're missing out on money, you're missing out on big business as well.
And you're right. As a chamber, in order for us to hire someone or to work with someone, we can only work with companies, not necessarily individuals, and definitely not sole proprietors, unless because of the California laws. So,
Correct.
okay, that makes sense. So we have 1 minute. So anything you would like to share with us before we close?
I would just love to say happy belated Valentine's Day to all of our listeners. And please do consider, if you are a sole proprietor, consider incorporating, reach out to me. I am more than happy to give you a complimentary consultation. Just say Joe sent me, and I'll know. I'll know which Joe we're talking about. But it's worth actually getting some information on be converting from a sole prop to an actual business owner and running a real business. We're always here to support entrepreneurs.
Of course, and that's always. And again, as I said at the beginning, it's been a pleasure working with Kelly, and Kelly is the best business attorney I ever known. So my personal experience has been huge, extremely positive, and I love working with you, Kelly. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Joe. Do I have probably 5 seconds just to quickly mention the new coaching company that
Oh
I
yes, please
found?
do.
It is called Pitbulls and Pearls, the coaching company for people who mean business and love life. We are having our very first workshop. It's a 2-day workshop. It's going to be March 2nd and 3rd in Carlsbad. And anyone can go and check out Pitbulls N Pearls. So it's not and, it's npearls.com. And all the information that they will need for the workshop is right there.
Excellent. Well, we will definitely share that with our network and help people to kind of direct them in that direction. So, because I know this be extremely valuable. I've seen the trainers and the consultants that you are showing on the website and top notch. I'm like,
Thank you, Joe. Yes, we talk about, legal strategy to branding, to trademarking, to
mhm,
healthy eating, right? And to walk with confidence. So it's a 360 event, if you will, that people will walk away with extreme knowledge, and they can feel better about being business owners as well.
excellent. Well, definitely, once you complete that, we would like to kind of get some feedback on how the training went, maybe in March, April, so that can we get some feedback. And are you planning to do this one on a regular basis?
We are. It's again, this is the very first one, so we're very super excited about it. But maybe depending on the requirements and depending on the work and the outreach as well, we would like this to be eventually a monthly thing. But I think we'll probably start off with a quarterly thing.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you, Kelly. Again, this has been the Veterans Radio Show legal segment with Kelly Bagla. And honestly, the best legal business attorney that you will ever find, honestly. So thank you very much for listening. And we look forward to seeing you again in our next segment on the Veterans Radio Show. And